This is cannabis. Any of these officers in here right now can arrest me. That is your quote of the day from an attorney who pulled out a baggie in court in front of the North Carolina Supreme Court this week. The case centers around hemp and marijuana. They have very different levels of THC. That's the chemical that gets you high, but they look and they smell almost identical. The question before the court is whether or not police are justified in searching someone if they smell what they believe is legal pot, but could turn out to be legal hemp. The attorney arguing against that illustrated his point with a bag of bud.
This is cannabis. And so if he's right, and if the Court of Appeals is right, then that means that any of these officers in here right now can arrest me, can search my briefcase.
Did you see the way the justices responded to that little stunt, by the way? I got a bit of a kick out of that. Look at their faces. Just like a priceless reaction. The justice on the left is looking up like, wait, what? One of the justices giving a little stink eye to the to the attorney. The other one's like, you got to be kidding me. Did you just pull that out? But look, the attorney isn't kidding. No, he thinks police need a different reason to search someone because the smell of marijuana and hemp are so similar. WRAL state government reporter Will Duran has been following this case, so I asked him how that argument landed in court. Well, let's talk about this. First, though, I think we should make a distinction. We're not talking about the vapes or the gummies or the chocolates or drinks or that sort of thing. That is THC that is chemically derived from hemp and much different than what we're talking about. We're talking about the hemp plant itself that looks a lot like marijuana. But are people actually smoking that? Because it has next to no THC or marijuana type effects.
Yeah, they are. You know, I mean, there's dozens, hundreds of stores that you can go into and buy little buds of hemp that might look just like marijuana that you can roll up and smoke like you would marijuana. And obviously it doesn't get you high. That's why it's hemp, not marijuana, but that does exist and people do use it that way.
So while it doesn't have the same effect as marijuana, it has a lot of other qualities that are almost identical. The way it looks, the way it smells. And the attorney in court today used a dramatic way we showed it off the top, to express that. How did that go over in court?
Oh, it grabbed the justice's attentions for sure. You know, he holds up the little bag, he says, "This is cannabis," and you see their heads snap over and look at him. And so absolutely, and got their attention, and he feels like he made his point. They did not come and arrest him. They did not come and search him. And his point was that you're saying that police should have probable cause to come do this, but, you know, for people who aren't me, who aren't a lawyer arguing in front of the Supreme Court, not necessarily going to get the benefit of the doubt that I'm getting, but they should. And police should have more evidence than just that sight or that smell to come and arrest you.
Marijuana, though, is illegal, and police have sworn an oath to uphold the law. So regardless of how people feel about marijuana, it is illegal. So let me make a really dramatic kind of example, an over-the-top example. But if somebody were to pull a baggie out of their pocket that had white powder in it, and they snorted it off a table in front of a police officer and said, "Oh, this is just how I take my aspirin," you wouldn't expect them to just shrug their shoulders. But that's kind of the way the argument is being made here.
Yeah, no, it's a great example, and it's actually one that the justices brought up in questioning.
Say the person holds it out in the palm of their hand as if they're showing it to somebody. Now, maybe that's enough too.
A pill?
Maybe it's to showing it. Yeah, a pill.
I don't think that if I'm holding a pill in my hand that I have surrendered my Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure.
So let's say this goes potentially one of two ways. It either stays the same and police don't have to change the way that they do anything, or it goes the other direction where the smell of this cannabis or marijuana actually doesn't give them probable cause to do anything further. That kind of seems like it might open the door for people to then be able to freely smoke marijuana in public, not just hemp.
It could, and that was the state's arguments at trial that we saw in this case. It's also something that we've been talking about for years. I mean, this was not a surprise for anyone in this. Back when the legislature was debating the legalization of hemp, 2018, 2019, many years ago, the State Bureau of Investigation came out and said exactly that. They said, if you do this, we're going to de facto legalize marijuana because police will no longer have probable cause because of the smell issue. And so this is not a surprise. We knew that we're going to be having these debates, but the legislature decided that Didn't matter. We wanted to do this anyways. It was good public policy, and they passed the law. Here we are talking about it all these years later.
All right, we'll see what the court decides. Thank you, Will.